Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer, the illusion of the circle. Right, let's just dive straight into this, because today we're going to dismantle a really comfortable, but honestly, completely stagnant worldview that, well, pretty much all of us hold. We're going to figure out exactly why you drew that circle in the first place, why you keep pacing around its edge instead of just stepping over it, and, most importantly, what it's actually costing you to stay safely tucked inside.
So how often do you tell yourself something like, I'm just being careful, I'm waiting for the right moment? I mean, let's just talk directly here. How many times have you rationalized putting something off by saying you're just waiting until you're, a little more prepared, a little more confident, just ready? I get it. It sounds incredibly responsible, right? It feels like wisdom. You're just walking the inside edge of your comfort zone, making sure every single duck is in a perfect little row before you make a move.
But there's another word for it. And it's a word most people really don't like to say out loud, but we've kind of got to face it right now. You're stuck. That is the honest truth. You aren't actually waiting for the stars to align. Some deep, quiet part of your mind has just decided that staying exactly where you are right now is safer than moving forward. All that preparation, it's just a really good disguise for paralysis.
So the really crucial thing here is understanding the myth our own minds create to justify all this. The story your brain tells you is, hey, the circle keeps me safe. Inside that circle, you've got your comforting routines, right? Your couch, your phone, your perfectly predictable daily schedule. And the underlying belief is that out there, beyond the line, is risk, it's danger, it's failure. And in here is stable. Look, it sounds totally reasonable, but as our source material reveals, it's also mostly false.
See, we tell ourselves the circle protects us from actual danger. But in almost all modern day-to-day cases, that's a total illusion. The circle is really only doing one thing. It's protecting you from the discomfort of not knowing. It just shields you from uncertainty. Actually, scratch that. It's not even the bad outcome you're terrified of. It's literally just the feeling of not knowing how something will turn out.
Let's actually ground this in psychology for a second. This is what's known as a safety behavior. These are actions that, sure, they reduce your anxiety in the short term, but they quietly reinforce the belief that the thing you're afraid of is actually dangerous. Every single day you stay inside that circle, your brain logs more false evidence. It literally says, see, we stayed inside today and we survived. The outside must be deadly. Because of this psychological loop, pacing that circle literally thickens its walls, making it harder and harder to stop.
But the clock is ticking while you pace that perimeter. We really need to talk about the invisible cost here. While you've been walking in tight little circles just trying to manage your anxiety, there's a massive emotional and practical toll mounting up, just outside your awareness. Standing still while the rest of the world moves, that is not a neutral act. It comes with a heavy, heavy price.
Let's break down exactly what's slipping away while you pace. The skills you'd be building by stepping out? Yeah, you're not building them. The people you'd be meeting and connecting with? You're not meeting them. And honestly, perhaps the most heartbreaking part, the version of you who has already done the thing, your future self, is getting further away, not closer. Just imagine that future self walking confidently off into the blur while you're left behind.
This is the ultimate trap of the comfort zone. We somehow think staying inside hits the pause button on life, freezing everything safely in place. It doesn't. Everyone around you keeps moving, and the gap between where you are right now and where you could be, it just keeps growing. Quietly, inwardly. Every single day you don't even notice it, that distance expands. That's the real price. It's not some sudden catastrophe. It's just slow, invisible distance. Okay, let's take a breath. I know this sounds a bit intense. So, let's drop the tension for a second. We need to pivot, and we need to talk about why you drew that circle in the first place. I really want to reassure you. This inaction, it's not a character flaw. You aren't lazy, and your brain definitely didn't draw this boundary randomly just to mess with you. It actually came from a very real place of self-preservation.
Somewhere in your past, there was a catalyst. Maybe it was a failed attempt at something you really cared about. Maybe it was a harsh reaction from someone you trusted, or just a deep public embarrassment. In a moment where stepping out did go badly, your nervous system learned a really rigid rule. Outside the line is where bad things happen. It wrote that rule to protect you from ever feeling that pain again. And honestly, at the time, that response made perfect sense.
Which brings us to this incredibly powerful metaphor from the source material. Your brain is simply running old protective code. The problem, though, that rule never got updated. You're essentially applying a historical survival program to a present-day situation that doesn't even match the original threat anymore. You are not weak for staying in the circle. You're just running a mental software program that is desperately, desperately overdue for a patch.
So how do we actually build this into an exit strategy? Well, we need to rewrite your operating manual. The absolute biggest mistake people make is imagining that leaving the comfort zone requires this dramatic, terrifying leap into the unknown. I mean, that image alone is enough to keep anyone frozen. But it isn't a leap at all. It's literally just moving a single foot past a dotted line. That's it. Nothing explodes, the sky doesn't fall. In fact, psychological research on exposure and avoidance consistently shows this exact equation. The anticipation of discomfort is almost always strictly greater than the actual discomfort itself. The dread of stepping out is way worse than the act of doing it. When you put that one foot over the line and realize, hey, nothing catastrophic happened, your body logs a new, powerful data point. And I promise you, that single data point is worth more than another entire year of just sitting around imagining what might happen.
So how do we actually do this? Well, here is a highly actionable, almost boringly simple checklist to help you step out today. No massive life overhauls here, just 4 crystal clear steps derived straight from the source material to help you erase the line. Step 1, make it small. Step 2, use a timer. Step 3, let old evidence be old. And step 4, expect discomfort. Let's break these down real quick.
Step 1. Make the first step so incredibly small that it's almost embarrassing. If you want a new job, your step is absolutely not change my career today. No way. The step is to send one single message on LinkedIn. If you want to get fit, the step isn't run a marathon. It's literally just put on the shoes. If the size of your first step doesn't embarrass you a little bit, it's too big. You've got to keep shrinking it down until it's so small you have absolutely no excuse not to take it.
Step 2. Do it on a timer, not on a feeling. Okay, this one is huge. Do not wait to feel ready. The whole trap of the circle is believing that readiness has to happen before action. But the feeling of readiness almost always arrives after you take the first step, not before it. So pick a time on the clock. When that timer goes off, you move, period. Completely regardless of your mood or your anxiety levels.
Step 3, the old you doesn't get a vote. You have got to let the old evidence be exactly that, old. Whatever happened the very first time you stepped out, that event that made you draw the circle in the first place, look, that was a different you. It was a totally different situation with a completely different set of stakes. That past experience, it does not get a seat at the table anymore. It doesn't get to vote on your future.
And step 4, expect mild discomfort, not disaster. When you take that small step, yeah, you're going to feel uncomfortable. But here's how you reframe that. Feeling uncomfortable just means you are successfully crossing the boundary. It's proof of movement. It absolutely does not mean you made a catastrophic mistake. It's really just the friction of crossing the border.
As we bring all of this together, I really want you to remember the single most empowering truth of this entire explainer. The circle is optional. The circle was never drawn by the world. You drew it. And because you are the architect of that boundary, you are completely empowered to be the one who erases it. You don't need absolute certainty about what's out there in the blur. You just need one honest step. Now, to do that, we need one final paradigm shift. Most people standing at the edge of their comfort zone, they only ever ask one thing. What if it goes wrong out there? They focus entirely on the external risk. But the true hidden danger is what the source material calls the question under the question. See, standing still is its own bet. You are essentially betting that absolutely nothing valuable is happening outside. And historically speaking, that bet is almost always wrong.
So I want to conclude our explainer today by turning the whole concept of risk completely on its head. I want you to ask yourself, what does it cost me if I stay exactly here for another year? The comfort zone was never really keeping you comfortable, it was just keeping you still. It's time to take that one small, embarrassing step and just walk out of it. Thank you so much for learning with me today. And I challenge you, erase your circle.